you heard Jeffrey Epstein say to Donald Trump, she's not for you. What was your reaction to that? What was going on in your head at the time about that? What did you think that meant?
Right. Well, I already felt kind of intimidated because it was in a dark office and I was alone with my new boss, you know, to be, and this man that's a powerful businessman. And so I felt intimidated, but that's not why I reported him. I reported him because when Epstein came out of the office, I was making a face at him because I felt threatened. And so I went, and he kind of laughed and backed off. And as that was happening, Epstein walked out and said, oh, no, 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 she's not here for you. And he emphasized, she's not here for you. And he said, come with me. And he escorted him into another office. And I was like, who's in there? And when he said, oh, I thought she was 16, I thought, is there a 16-year-old in there? Right? So what people need to understand is I'm not some crazy person who just reports people if they look at my legs or I'm in an office with them. But when someone is hanging out with a convicted or a pedophile, and I discover that that pedophile has stolen my little sister, and then there's a powerful businessman that's making comments about me being my sister's age, then I think that the FBI needs to take a good look at it. And so that's why I asked that they do that. And as far as like the Republicans have really, really been kind of tormenting the victims. And so that's a separate topic. But
I want to ask you about that, too. You know, and the part that just kept sticking with me is she's not for you. I just don't know what that meant. None of us know what that meant, but it is hard to get it out of your head. Let me ask you, I mean, Ghislaine Maxwell, and I want to ask you, too, about this, Jennifer, and thank you so much for being here with us. Todd Blanche, who is now the Deputy Attorney General, is meeting with Maxwell in jail today. And as you have referenced a couple of times here, so I just want to ask you more about it. She's been a little, and I started talking about this, lionized almost, like lifted up by some who are suggesting she could be a victim too, what is your reaction to that? What has been your reaction to that? Maria, let me ask you that. And then I wanted to ask you, Jennifer, just what your thoughts are on that meeting.
Right. So I've never met a more predatory, terrifying human being in my entire life. And neither had Virginia Giuffre, and neither has Annie or Anushka or many girls like Shantae Davies. There's hundreds of us that were preyed upon by Ghislaine Maxwell. She's a very dangerous person, and she threatened my life on many occasions. I've had to move and be in hiding because of this predatory child predator and just victim predator. So it's completely unacceptable for anyone to call her a victim. The woman is not a victim. She's a victimizer.
Let me ask you, that is an accurate and good way of putting it. Let me ask you, Jennifer, I mean, you've obviously been standing side by side here with Maria, but you are also a lawyer. And I want to know your thoughts about seeing Trump's former personal lawyer, who's now the Deputy Attorney General, go spend the day privately with Ghislaine Maxwell. He's going back tomorrow. What do you think about that?
This is deeply, deeply disturbing. Ghislaine Maxwell is not a reliable witness. To think that someone who is facing what she's facing the rest of her 20-year sentence and now might have an opportunity to change that dramatically by saying whatever she wants to say or needs to say to those in charge and in charge of her fate, it makes no sense, and she's not reliable. I find it also very disturbing to equate her with the victim. She is. We've been dealing with the Epstein victims for many years, Maria and many others, and they're the people that should be focused on here. And there's absolutely no attention to the victims. For example, there was the issuance of this memorandum 2 weeks ago. That was issued without talking to a single victim.
Are you referring to the request for the grand jury files? That or a different request?
No, sorry. I'll make that. Yeah, no, the FBI and DOJ memorandum that says we will not release any files. There's nothing to see here. We're not going to charge anyone. This is over. And they made this conclusion, reached this conclusion without even talking to a single victim.
Which is completely outrageous. Let me ask you on that front. I mean, because there's also been this call to release the files from the grand jury, which are very narrow, and you can describe it further. But one of the steps they're supposed to take is reach out as a part of the victim notices process. Have they done that at all? Have you heard from them, Jennifer?
Not a peep, nothing. So they have not done their job in really truly trying to get those records. But this is really, those records are, even if they got them, are a spit in the ocean. They have 300 gigabytes of data and physical evidence sitting in their offices. The grand jury materials could be somewhat interesting, but that's not the guts of it.
No, certainly not. Let me ask you, Maria, there's been some I don't know if it's progress, some push to subpoena the Epstein files, to learn more, that's moved through the House Oversight Committee yesterday. Do you see that as progress? Right. And if Congress asked you to testify publicly or behind closed doors, is that something you'd be willing to do?
I've been waiting to testify. David Boies had promised I would be able to testify, and it didn't happen. And now it looks like they're wanting Ghislaine to testify. It's my turn. Yes.
So you would be willing. Well, that's a significant thing. And
yes, absolutely. I'm waiting.
I hope somebody out there is watching and ask you. Let me ask you both. Jennifer, let me start with you. If you're able to gain access to the Epstein files, you may, I guess, if Congress has them and if they've contacted you. First of all, let me ask, has Congress contacted you about sharing anything from what they've subpoenaed?
No, they have not.
Okay, I hope they do. Let me ask you then, if you were to gain access. I hope so too. Somebody watching better be contacting you. Let me ask you, if you were to gain access, and I certainly hope you do, if they follow through with this, and I think they will, what are you going to look for first?
Well, first, we're going to look for Maria's records, which we've been asking for years.
Yes.
And in response, we got, for example, a recent memo that's from the government that says, we'll be back to you by November 2027. That is completely unacceptable. Jen, the reality of this is that this is one of the largest law enforcement failures in U.S. history. Maria went to the FBI, gave them all the information they needed, talked about child sex abuse, trafficking, child porn, gave them the information. If they had done their job, nearly 25 years of sex abuse and other crimes could have been avoided. And this is truly tragic
29.
and unacceptable that they failed to do their job.
You have both been so generous with your time. I just want to ask Maria, before you go, you've been so courageous to speak out publicly. And if you could speak right now to any of the other victims who say they have been assaulted by Jeffrey Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell, what would you say to them? Because I know a lot of people are struggling right now.
Right. Well, there's a few of them I'm going to be reaching out to, and I want them to know that I love them. I'm so proud of people like Jennifer Rose and Shantae Davies and Marika and just Anushka. They're the most beautiful young girls that were harmed. And I'm much older. I'm the den mother, and I'm mad. I'm the angry, bear. And I want those girls protected.
I'm sure they're grateful to have a den mother like you out there speaking so bravely on their behalf.
The old one.
Maria Farmer, Jennifer Freeman, thank you both so much for being out here and sharing your story.
Thank you, Jen.